Thank you for joining us today. Our goal is to provide you with an overview and practical demonstration on the options you have when a new version of an international standard has been released and you need to update your documented information. The Waypoint Global Suite solution is comprised of many applications that have all been designed and developed at the request of our customers from around the world. Our focus today will be on the authoring tools, associated template packs, and document manager. Every organization that maintains conformance to at least one international standard has learned the ugly truth that the standard periodically goes through revisions, and those revisions typically require a complete review of your management system, and at least editing, if not a complete rewrite, of the majority of your documentation. So how best to navigate this forced workload? Is it possible to use our current documentation? Probably. Will I lose all of my revision history? No, you don't have to if you don't want to lose it. Now, obviously, there are some major differences in the structure of the policy manual versus procedures and instructions, so there are some differences in the way they are handled, and we will cover it all in this presentation. In fact, there are two different approaches you can take. With procedures and instructions, you can either edit your current documents and get them up to par, or you can take advantage of the newest template pack example documents and customize them to meet your needs. When you are ready, these new documents can either stand alone as a new document, or they can be checked in over an existing document, so you can leverage the revision history of the previous version. The changes to the standard structure are so vast, so you will have to rewrite your policy manual, but you can copy and paste as much text as you want from your current manual into your new manual. Why is converting my documents important? Well, the standard requires your documents to be reviewed for adequacy and updated as needed, but it's more than just that. Your documentation is a reflection of the culture within your company. Are we happy with the status quo, or are we constantly striving to be better than what we were yesterday? Keeping your documentation up to date is one stone on the path to improvement. Only by frequently looking at what you have done and how you did it can innovation shine through to lead you to better ways of doing things. Keep asking yourself, is this the best way? How can we do this better? Waypoint Global provides integrated products designed to dramatically reduce the time it takes to achieve conformance to a variety of international business standards for quality, environmental, aerospace, medical device, food service, and occupational health and safety management systems. This is accomplished by providing tools that work together to lessen the non-value added time spent on redundant activity and adds consistency to your documentation. This, combined with using pre-formatted and pre-structured example templates, many with example content, gets you started documenting how you do things in a jiffy, because you can begin editing a document instead of starting the creation process from scratch. And you'll be using a format following the ISO TR 10013 Guidelines for Management System Documentation. Several document sections allow you to pick reference content from a customizable list, so you don't waste time retyping the same content over and over again. And since you are picking from a list, it will be the same content referenced across your documentation, which adds another layer of consistency every auditor will appreciate. Reference documents added to each document will be maintained regardless of individual revisions to them, yet the relationship will be maintained until you discontinue the relationship. It is a much stronger relationship than a hyperlink could ever hope to be. Here are some things to keep in mind before you begin the grandiose adventure. First, you're going to need to immerse yourself in the new version of the standard or standards. The majority of requirements are carried over from the previous version, but all of the reference numbers have changed. Of course, there are some new requirements to be addressed as well. In most template packs, we have provided a comparative matrix to help, but you are going to need to know what translates to what as you migrate to the new standard. Don't forget your housekeeping. Make sure your files are getting backed up regularly. Isn't one of the 5S steps save your files? Review your indexing strategy to ensure your binders are helping your teams find the documents they need when they need them. More on this in a minute. Finally, remember that as you are working on your new documents, Your existing documents are still the law of the land until the new ones get released. You can certainly try to minimize the amount of time you spend on them, but don't let them get out of date in the meantime. Before adding a bunch more documents to your system, review how easy it is to find documents now. Ask various members of your team how they think of documents and how they find them now. Could it be easier for them if you made some changes? How do you categorize your documents? Do you index them at all? Using our authoring tools, we will automatically do indexing for you, or do some indexing for you. But that is only the tip of the iceberg of what is available. This subject is so important we have an upcoming webinar planned just for these topics. Do all users have the binders they use most often saved as favorite binders? If not, why not? It is so quick and easy to set up and can save time for you and your users daily. We have tried to keep the standards conversions within their own standard lanes, but there are some exceptions, mostly for converting from one quality-based standard to another. This may loosen up more as time progresses. The slide shown lists all of the standards that can convert from one revision to a newer revision. Obviously, you are going to want to keep your current documentation at least until you get your transition completed and go through your audits if necessary. But once you have completed your gap analysis of your organization and its current readiness to the new standard, is it going to be more labor-intensive to edit your existing documentation? Or would it be more time efficient to start with the new templates and customize from there? That is a question you will want to ask of yourself and answer. This said answer could very well be different on a document-by-document basis. With some of you want to convert and others you want to start over from scratch. We are going to show you how to do both in this webinar, at least with your procedures and instructions. Since the policy manual structure pretty much follows the structure of the standard, any changes beyond renaming a section that contains the same or very similar requirements could be handled with the conversion tool, just like how we helped you convert from ISO 9001-2000 to ISO 9001-2008. Only two headers changed. That was it, and it made converting existing documentation very easy. With the latest revision to just about every standard, almost everything changed. And even if a shall statement requirement did carry over, it was renumbered and moved into a different section. As a result, most all policy manuals are going to have to be rewritten. The same is certainly not true for procedures and instructions. Depending upon how you want to document some of the new requirements, you may need some procedures, or you may just want to edit procedures you already have instead of creating new procedures for how you handle some of the new requirements like risk management, for example. Most organizations have already been doing risk management, or they wouldn't be able to have survived the current competitive business climate, so you may be further along than you think. Do you really want to have one procedure that defines how you mitigate risk in every process, or would it be more appropriate to include it in the documentation of each process, so you don't lose any of the context and the process flows altogether? The decision is yours, and no one is going to try to tell you which is the best approach for your organization. Remember, you're going to be able to decide for each documented process in your system, and we'll show you how to update and/or convert your work. There are some tasks you should work on before even starting this process. Here are the steps for converting an existing document. And here are the steps for using a new template and checking it over an existing document. Working with a parallel document is the easiest way to still be able to keep your existing documentation editable until it is time to flip the switch to your new documentation. Enough of the conceptual talk. Let's take this to an actual demonstration of each of the approaches.
We're going to start with the procedure in this case, and so I'm going to open up the document workspace and select my procedure. In this case, we've got our continual improvement procedure. If we scroll through the document, we can see there's content in here that is reflective of the 9001-2008 standard. We can see the references in here for reference documents are both to the 9001-2005 vocabulary fundamentals and vocabulary reference, as well as the 2008 version of the standard. And we're going to need to make some adjustments on that as well. So the first thing that we need to do is to check this document out. So we have now checked it out. If there's any invalid items, they're not going to necessarily reflect anything that is going to be impacted by this training video, so we can just overlook that for right now. Once I have the document checked out, then I'm ready to go through the procedure and look at the different areas and make sure that everything is up to date. Now in this case, we've got a reference here back to a previous standard reference to a shall statement here. So if I want to edit that, I need to go into the paragraph section, and I'm just going to make this 10.3. If you want, you can just remove the reference altogether. It's entirely up to you. That probably would be a better course of action, since I don't have my shall statement cross-reference comparative matrix out here to look and make sure that that statement does apply to 10.3 in the new standard. I'd also want to check my definitions. These are all definitions that came from 2005, so I would want to remove these and then add the latest definitions from the definitions pool. So you'll need to make sure that your definitions pool is updated with the latest definitions. The responsibilities code, as you know, this is not a section you can directly edit. All you have the option to do here is validate, and I can go ahead and validate, and it'll tell us that nothing has changed. I'd want to go through the individual process steps and update all of the text there. There's no references in the 2000 to the 2008 shall statements in 4.1. There is one in 4.2, so I'll go in here and remove this. You basically want to make sure that all your references that you made are up to date and that you're addressing all the content. You may need to add some additional steps depending upon what it is that you are documenting. So once you have your content complete there, then we can collapse the procedure area and go into references. Your related procedures are probably going to be similar. You're going to want to wait till you get most of your procedures completed, if not all of them, so that you at least know what the name of them are going to be before you start creating relationships to those procedures. For the reference documents, this is where you're going to want to remove the old and add the new. So I'll go in here and I'll click in the open window here and type in IS, and that'll get me to the beginning of the 9000. So I've got 9001. 9000 should be just above it there. And you'd want to make sure that you're adding in the new references so that your references now reflect the new standard. You may need to update those numbers in the Document Manager workspace for those proxy documents, because I don't actually have the standards in here. These are proxy documents that came with the template pack. Last but not least, you'd want to check your records, make sure that those are all up to date, and you can validate those as well. Nothing has changed there. So the policy references are going to be the biggest thing that's going to change about this procedure. So in order to change these policy references, notice that the grid pattern here, so that I can put checks in the boxes for the elements that apply, are related to the old standard. In order to get the new standard in here, we need to go up to Tools, Change Standard. You can see the current standard for this document and then what is the new standard that you wish to apply to. So if I want this to be 9001-2015, I can highlight that and select OK. That is automatically going to check the document in. So I'll check it in, and it's going to bring the document up in the print preview mode. In order to select those new elements, I'm going to need to check the document out and then go to the policy reference section and notice how this has now changed to the new structure of the standard. And I will scroll over here and we'll say 10 and 10.3. I'll go ahead and update by refreshing the document. That's going to refresh the entire document, and then I would save it and check it in. So then now when we look at the advanced properties of the document, we look at the indexing, we can see the indexing is now indexed to the new elements that we selected as well as to the new standard. Both procedures and instructions work the very same way. The next type of document we're going to take a look at here is a policy manual. The policy manuals are probably going to need to be rewritten depending upon the way that you've documented it. I'd say there's a high probability that you're going to need to rewrite it because pretty much the structure of the policy manual follows the clause structure. Let's take a look at how we would use our existing documents and take advantage of the revision history from our previous doc and check in a new edited template over the top of one so that we don't lose that revision history, all that rich audit trail that we really don't want to sacrifice. Good example for this will be the policy manual because it's one of the documents that you're probably going to have to rewrite. Now you can copy paste from the existing policy manual into a new one. We can see our existing policy manual. Here's our title, our number, status, and we're up to revision 9 in it. So we sure don't want to lose all of those revisions. I'm going to cancel out of here. So I'm going to create a new policy manual now that I can work on at my own pace up until the time we need to start performing audits. So I'm going to look for a new ISO 9001 template pack. And here we go. This has the content in it. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the template version and start editing from there. Now I'm going to put an indicator behind this that this is my 2015 version so that I know what I'm working on here. I don't want to try to register two documents with the same name because we do require a unique title for each document. I'm going to go ahead and create it, and then when it's time to check it in, we will adjust the name. I'll just go ahead and save this document as it is, and that's going to register it into the system. So now I am ready to edit any of the sections of this document. If I want to go in and edit anything about the introduction, I get into the paragraph or the numbered list sections, and this is a text window. So I can copy paste whatever I want in here. Now this does have the new references into the new requirements in the 2015 version. So I don't have to worry about updating those, and that might be something that you might want to take into consideration when you're deciding about whether or not you just want to edit your existing one or if you want to use one of the new templates, because this document does have all of the new references in it throughout, not just in the introduction, but also in the requirements section. All of the new references are in place. So basically you would edit this document until you had it the way that you want it. Once you have it that way, then you would want to go up, click on view the document, refresh it, save it, and then we'll check it in. That's going to get the document into the system because now I'm ready to make a copy outside of the system. So I'm going to close. So I'm going to go back to desktop here, and I am going to go to modules, and then I'm going to go to document manager. When document manager opens, then I'm going to go to open a document workspace. I'll go ahead and maximize this window here, and I am going to use my binder for policy manuals, and that narrows it down to both policy manuals that I want. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight both of those and select open. So now I have both policy manual document workspaces open. Might be a good time to go ahead and save that document workspace just in case I get interrupted before I get this task completed. Now here is my 2015 version that I've been working on as time permitted, and I now have it to where I want. So I'm going to highlight the most recent version of this. I'm going to right mouse click on it, and I'm going to select copy. And I'm going to select the desktop, and I am going to say 15 Paulman, so that I'll know that's my 2015 policy manual. I'm just going to put it right on my desktop. It knows the file type, the .pwd, that's the document type that the policy manuals are created in. Then I am going to close this document workspace for this most recent one, because I'm done with this one. So here is my existing policy manual. Now we're ready to start performing internal audits and rolling out our 2015 management system. So this is the one that I want to check in on top of. So I'm going to highlight that current version. I'm going to go to my change control tab after that current version is highlighted, and I'm going to select check in. Then I'm going to browse to my desktop, which is where I put that policy manual, and there's my 15 Paulman PWD, and I'll select open, and I'll put in my record here of transition to ISO 9001 2015. Many changes were made, as it is basically a whole new document. And that's going to give me my catalog revision for the document revision. And now it's showing as checked in. Once it's checked in, I will close this workspace and close out of Document Manager. Now I can go back to Policy Writer and open this new policy manual. It shows 9.1 is checked in, so I'll open that. Notice the name is still the same as your old policy manual, and I can check it out, and I will refresh this document. Highlight the view, select refresh, make sure that the logo is correct, and once it is refreshed, then I'll go ahead and save this, and I'll go ahead and check it in. Once it's checked in, I am ready to go to the advanced properties and change the indexing on this, because you'll notice that the indexing is still to the old standard. So I need to remove that standard, and I need to assign the new standard. So I'll expand standards, look for ISO 9001 2015, and add that, apply, save my change, and now I have a new policy manual on top of my old one. It works the same way for procedures and instructions if you want to handle that for some of the newer procedures and instruction templates that came along with the template packs. But other than that, now I'm ready to start the approval process.
And with this, we'd like to introduce Craig Stroop. Hi, Craig.
Hello. Is
How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Well, we appreciate your participation here. And I was curious, Craig, I know you've gone through this process already. If you would please tell us a little bit about your story.
Sure. Keystone Steel and Wire is who currently employs me. They're located in Peoria, have been for over 125 years. Considered one of the leaders in the steel industry, and the Peoria facility is considered one of the largest wire and rod mills in the USA. It's a 100% American-made product, so it is a Buy America compliant company, which does lead to sales. They produce over 700 tons of steel each year. They're considered a major recycler because the majority of the steel used here is from reprocessed steel, and then it's melted and poured into a variety of different grades of the steel. And Keystone's in its third iteration of the standard revision, so the 2015 standard was the third time we've gone through that.
Lucky you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how long have you been with your organization then?
I've been with Keystone for almost 2 years, but I come with 25 years plus background, which ranges from research, manufacturing, inspection, and various quality control positions.
Okay, all right. And what's the role that you play there at Keystone?
The role I play is quality manager. I'm responsible for maintaining the quality management system, which includes the ISO 9001 certification, which is topic of the day. Also with that comes monthly internal audits as well as managing the corrective action system. We are also A2LA accredited, so that's lab certification, separate audit. And then we're currently in the process of going through ISO 14001, which I believe Waypoint also supports. And so it's our first time certification there, so it's all new ground. But from my personal perspective, I'm glad to have the same base structure to help us get through that.
Excellent. And so you've worked with our products then for probably about the same amount of time, about 2 years?
Correct. And the first thing that I did after calling you several times was listen to your advice and take a training class. I think it's monumental because you need to understand the capability of the system and then apply it to your particular application instead of going the other way, believing that your system's right, and then trying to figure out how to fit it into a template or a document. The training was invaluable to me.
I remember the training class, and I remember having a lot of very interesting discussions about specific applications, how you expected to use the product. So it was certainly enjoyable from my perspective as well. So you've already told us the standards that you've transitioned from, the 9001, and now you're going through 14001, and I think you've also got our 17025 template pack as well. You probably haven't started on that one yet. So what can you tell us about your transition process? What was it like?
Well, it was certainly challenging and empowering. You covered a lot of areas. Megan did a great job in the overview because it brought back all the different things and the amount of time that I remember now spending in getting some of those. But you discover a lot of things within the system. Again, I walked into it after already having been through 2 revisions, or Keystone had, prior to me being involved. And so not only trying to learn the process, learn the Waypoint global management system, I was also recognizing the fact that not all of the documents previous were necessarily even to the 2008 standard, let alone to the 2015 standard. So it really helped me get a better understanding of the documents and then the overall operations perspective. So it was very empowering because I learned quickly what all the capabilities were.
Excellent, excellent. So what was the hardest part for you in going through the transition? And then if you could share with us what you thought the easiest part was.
Sure. Yeah, I think I already touched on it. It's the procedures and the instructions that are already in existence that I believe was the hardest, was to try to make sure that you got all the elements covered and then whatever modifications you have in the cross-referencing. If risk management includes corrective or preventative action, then those documents need to be changed along with the risk management documentation. As far as the easiest, if it was truly the 2008 standard with 9001, it was very, very easy. You went over that, Brad, very well here in this presentation. It was really easy to convert it over to the 2015 once you've done your homework and understand which element moved to another particular element in the new standard. Okay. And then also updating. Part of the old standard was that Keystone had gone through a couple different logo modifications, and that once I learned how to do that, that was a pretty simple process to update the logo, because that is important. Every time you're trying to share that, if you're like 2 iterations of your logo behind, that it's not a very good representation. So
yes, and you would like to have the same logo on all your documentation, I would imagine.
It helps with integrity.
Yes. Well, that's one of those little tidbits that auditors don't mention, is the fact that if they see some instances like that, that you wouldn't necessarily pay attention to if they see that you're willing to accept inconsistency, trivial in your documentation. Then they'll just start scrutinizing your organization that much more closely in every area.
Agreed completely. Yep.
So about how long did the conversion process take for you overall?
Well, from the time that I started, it was about a 6-month process, but that required about 50% of my time. And so there was over 100 documents and procedures, the supporting records documentation that goes along with that. And then once you do the modifications to the document, then in our case, we had over 20 different locations throughout the facilities that you had to distribute paper distributions. And then there's a whole process within the report writer function or report suite function within Waypoint where you're able to actually track and so you know which copies have gone to which locations. So quite a bit of work. Requires a lot of resources and it requires a lot of support throughout. People need to understand that this isn't a week or two endeavor. No, certainly not. Certainly not. And I think a lot of people dramatically underestimate the amount of time and effort it's going to take to convert from one version of the standard to the other. Yeah, I agree. We'd rather have people understand that and have that expectation up front instead of coming to that realization when they've got 3 weeks of their surveillance on it. Exactly. Yeah. So based on what I'm hearing, it sounds like we made it easier for the transition. Would you agree with that? Absolutely. Yeah, the system, it provides all the structure. I can't say that enough. If you're not a disciplined and structured person, you probably won't love Waypoint Global. But if you are, you do. You love it. It plays to all those strengths, you know, because and the policy manager, you mentioned it in the presentation, you got to get that first. And then once you get it, then it leads you right down to what other supporting documentation that you need that takes you right into procedure, instruction, writer. Okay, well, excellent, excellent. All right. Well, thank you for sharing your experiences with us, Craig. We appreciate it. It's always a pleasure speaking with you, and I'll look forward to hearing about another Tech Support issue when it arises. All right. Well, thanks again for the opportunity. Right. Thank you. Bye now. Bye-bye. All right, well, on with the presentation then. So now that we've covered everything, how about we review everything that we've touched? Like using an integrated suite of software certainly reduces the time spent on non-value-added activities and adds consistency to your documented information. Save your work often. I try to save often regardless of what I'm doing and whose software I'm using. It just makes sense and it saved me a lot of heartache. We'll get into some questions here. Some frequently asked questions. Can we still use our existing documents if we want to? I think we've shown that yes, you can, but you're probably still going to need to edit them to bring them up to date with the new requirements and addressing those new requirements and making sure that your references are up to date. So you certainly can. What happens if I accidentally select the wrong version of the standard using the tools and change standard? Then use the process again and select the correct one. If you run into a problem, let us know with technical support and we'll help you through that. Can we use a combination of existing and new documents to make this work? Yes, you certainly can. I think I've shown that as well during the presentation. You can use some of your existing documentation, and in some cases it may be more time efficient to just start from a new template and update from there. And that way all of your new references will be in place so that you don't have to update those. And then you can check it in over the top of an existing document to leverage that revision history and have that audit trail still available. Carrie, are there other questions that have come in?
There are a few. It's a little bit of a quiet group this morning, but that's okay. One could, and Brad, I think this is best for you because you have the live software. Would you be able to jump into a procedure again, modifying an existing procedure and being able to, how to change the current procedure clause in the document title block in the top right corner of the document to the new applicable 2015 clause? I've read that exactly how it was typed, So if we need additional clarification, let me know.
Okay. Anything about the document title or document number? I'm thinking that might be what the question is about here, because the document number does appear in the title block. And any of that information, that needs to be changed in Document Manager. After the document has been created, you can go into Document Manager, and I'll apply the filter here. So here's that continual improvement procedure. And if we want to change this to now be reflected to the new element is 10.1. So if I want to put in 10.1, then that's where I change it. If I need to change the title, that also can be done in Document Manager. And that's the only place it can be changed once the document has gone through the approval process in the system one time. It's no longer able to be changed in the authoring tool at present. It is something we've talked about, the possibility of changing that so that it can be changed in the authoring tool. It hasn't been acted upon yet. Hopefully that answered your question. If not, let us know, and perhaps we can give a call specifically.
Absolutely. We'll follow up. Yeah, we'll follow up to make sure that that question was answered. I believe in the beginning of the webinar, Megan had talked about making sure that you know your standard and you get the appropriate documentation from the ISO organization. If you're registered to the ISO 9001-2015, or you're working towards the 2015 standard, is there anything else that folks need to make sure they get from outside organizations? So certainly a copy of the standard would make logical sense. Is there any other type of documentation, booklets, or anything like that that is required from third party besides us for a customer?
There is at least one other supporting document that I would encourage people to get from ISO, and that's the fundamentals and vocabulary from ISO. That document is ISO 9000-2015. That has the updated terms and vocabulary, and that document is actually longer than the actual standard requirements. I think it's about 55 pages overall. There's about 30 pages of terms and definitions. I'm not a fan of the way that they've structured the document, but it doesn't matter. Those are the terms and definitions that auditors are expecting to see referenced in your documentation. And it's also available from ISO.org, just as the standard is. You can get the standard from a variety of different places, and you'll notice that there are different prices available in a lot of places. ISO does not give any price breaks to the local country registration supporting agencies like ANSI in the US. So they have to pay the same price that you can buy it from ISO, and then they mark it up a little bit, and then we'll charge you for it. They put their own cover page on it, and then mark it up in price and sell it to you that way. So if you go directly to the source, I don't think anybody's going to complain that you have the actual ISO standard that you're working from, since they're the mothership of the standards. But that's certainly, if you're looking for additional information about how to perhaps implement it with some guidance from ISO, there's another document, ISO 9004, which I believe came out in 2016, that is available to assist with the process of implementation. As far as that, I can't think of any other documents that really would be that beneficial unless you're aspiring to other standards, because there's a lot of different standards that are out there.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. Like I said, it was a little bit of a quiet group today, so what I would like to, Brett, I think you had a couple of last minute items to cover also, and then we will wrap this up.
Some other things that we wanted to bring up to people's attention. We do have a whole bunch of How Do I series videos available now out on our website. And if I get back here, there we go. All right, so I have logged into our website here. And you can see on the technical support page, there's a How Do I videos, and we're at the How Do I videos page. And so you can see that we have them broken down by the individual component. So Audit Manager, the authoring tools, and lo and behold, converting documents to another standard is one of the training videos. And it's, gosh, it's over 20 minutes in length, as I recall. So if you're looking to see this information again and be able to watch it again and again and again, feel free. There's a variety of different subjects that have been covered here. And over the past few months, Megan and I had brainstormed and developed these videos covering frequent pleas from help into our technical support area, as well as just some common questions that we get during conversations. As I mentioned, there's over or nearly 70 different videos available presently. We have ideas for more. We just need to get time to work on those, and we'll keep adding them. If you think that there's a particular subject that you'd like to see a video of, feel free to let us know. You can either send that into info@waypointglobal.com or into technical support, and we'll certainly take it into consideration. But you can see there's a lot of training videos here. So they are on the business YouTube site. They're not searchable through the YouTube site, so you'll have to get them directly from here, but then you just can work directly from here, and it will launch the video. Okay, so the next thing that we wanted to talk about is the next major release of the suite is due in early summer of 2018. That'll be version 4.0. And there's lots of exciting features that are coming, and almost every module is going to be impacted. So you won't want to miss that as well. Lastly, before we wrap this up here, we wanted to mention that we recently sent out a survey about the use of Windows XP in your organization, and we appreciate everybody completing the survey that participated. And we closed that survey, and we had a drawing for the $100 for participating in it for a Visa gift card. And the winner of that is Eric Baldridge from Through Tubing in Oklahoma City. So congratulations, Eric. So be sure to watch your inbox for various announcements from us. And in the future, we're likely going to be conducting additional surveys. So you'll have a shot as well.
Absolutely.
All
Thanks,
right.
Brad. Yeah, thank you for those announcements. Brad and Megan, thank you both for the presentation today. We certainly appreciate it. There on the screen now, you're going to see how to get a hold of us. The technical support is extension 2, and either one of those main or toll-free numbers, you can use that. I'm extension 701. Want to make sure that you know, if you're really digging into your transition right now and you need a little extra help from us, please contact us. We don't want you to struggle. We want to help you get through this as pain-free as possible. We can set up an individual go-to-meeting session for you, and certainly we have training opportunities to help you also. One thing I did want to mention about the How Do I videos, a lot of times we maybe only have 1 or 2 users from your organization. You might be the main person that calls us or that type of situation, but we certainly want all of your users within your organizations to have access to those videos. All they need to do is either contact us. You can contact us. We just need their name and email address. They can go to the website and create their own record, and then we will give them access to the How Do I videos section of the website. It is behind a login and a password because it is tied to your ongoing annual technical support agreement. So as long as you have a current one, as always, you have access to any upgrades that we release, which 4.0 is coming, and we're very excited to bring that new functionality to you. It allows you to get in contact with our technical support team for us to help you, whether it be through email, phone calls, or GoToMeeting. assistance, along with now these How Do I videos. So please use us. That's what we're here for. We're here to serve you, and we enjoy doing it too. So we want to make sure that we help your day-to-day usage of the Waypoint suite go as smoothly as possible. So thank you everyone for your time. Again, you'll be getting a recording of the webinar along with the questions that were asked. And just wanted to remind all of you, we will have another webinar in a few weeks. It's going to be the first week in April on Wednesday, April 4th. And the subject matter is planning and scheduling internal audits. So wanted to make sure you knew that was coming. Watch your emails. That's how we communicate with all of you. If you have any questions once we end today, please don't hesitate to let us know. Again, we appreciate you, and we hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much, everyone.